Hello everybody, welcome to today's video. I hope you enjoy, so let's get started. Sorting through all the little bits and pieces of the Encon stuff here, so I thought I'd do a little overview of what there is. Boy, there are a lot of these wall controls, most certainly. We got a couple different covers here, and 4 of them that are brand new. Some in-wall ones, some extra bits and bobs, and then tons of little rods here. Some longer ones, some shorter ones, and some miniature ones for low ceilings. And then we have some light kits. We have this 3 light kit here and some different pieces for it, because one of these doesn't have holes to put the screws to put the cover on, you know, the shade. So that's interesting. This is the bottom for it, or the top rather, to keep the wires away from the motor. So that's now complete. In fact, I also found a kit that I'm guessing would go with this to mount it to the fan. It looks like it has everything it needs to do that. So there's our kit. Obviously that one socket's broken, but that's not a hard fix. That's really easy. So I think that kit is complete, that light kit. We have our 4 light kit here, and this one I did find the bottom piece and bottom cover, because it was missing that when we originally were looking at this. But one thing that we're still missing is the bottom cover that kind of looks like that will marry this to the motor. So I'm not really sure what to do about that. I don't have that piece, and I could probably make something or some type of spacer, and then that would work just fine. Not really sure. Maybe it could go on one of those Calcutta style bottoms that's a little bigger than that, and it just brings it down a little further. I don't know. Or maybe we'll just put it somewhere and do something else with it. But that's our 4 light kit right here. And then we have some low ceiling mounts that come apart here in brown, and then some white ones, and then more white ones here that weren't attached to each other. We also have some complete white metal canopies, a whole bunch of brown ones from new to used to everything in between. 6 of these little capacitors here. I think they're all the same. They're all 4 microfarad. Brand new capacitors. We have one of these stepped canopies. From my understanding, I believe this is one of the original designs before they went to kind of the bell shape here, like what's on the brown fan above the stairs inside. So that's pretty cool. And then we have globe fitter kits here. A whole bunch of those, some brand new, some in various states of needing help. We have 2 sets of blade arms here. Now I had a 3rd one, but I already used those on the fan downstairs here to put the cane inlaid blades onto the white Encon, and boy does that look great. So here's 2 more sets of blade arms. Thank God I have those. And then we have all of our little mounts here. Oh yeah, you know, if I didn't have this, I have all these blades here. There'd be no way of mounting the wooden blades. So again, you know, thank goodness I got that. We got some mounting brackets here. I'm not sure what exactly they're for. I don't know if they're Encon or not. They were just in the box. We have our little, I want to say this is a pull chain kit. It just does not have holes for the pull chain. As far as I can understand it, this would go on. And then this little baggie here, we have kind of an adapter and some pull chains and wire nuts. So it just seems to me like this would be a pull chain kit, missing the switches, missing, I'm guessing, some type of capacitor or something, so you could, you know, vary the speeds. I could be wrong. Maybe it was just 1 speed in that kit. And then you would take your light kit and you would just put this on top of it. Now this one has been modified to use something else, so let me see if I can find one here that isn't like that. And this sits perfectly on top of this adapter. As you can see, if I don't make that happen, it fits perfectly on there. So this must have been like their switch kit, and maybe you could put your own holes in it. I don't know, or maybe that one was a manufacturing oddity. It didn't put the holes in it or something. I'm not sure. And then of course we have some swag kits here. These aren't Encon, they're Montgomery Ward, but still very nice to have. And of course some different paper pamphlets here. That's always awesome. So that's a little look at some of the things here. Of course, there's more, the globes, the fancy bottoms, if you don't want, you know, a light kit, the Calcutta style bottoms, and all kinds of other things. Of course, we have the two white motors up here. I got some globes, I got more somewhere else. There's the weird fan that I need to get a gear made for, and then the 3-bladed one there that needs some bearing help. And of course we have our example model here. Now this would be pretty cool if I could somehow put it back together. The only thing I'd be missing in the adventure of using it is the adapter that would hold the capacitor to the arm and all that, the little triangular thing that would go between the motor and the arm, or the down rod I should say. That I don't have one of those, so maybe something could be made, or just leave that as the example model. After all, that's what it was used for. But I just wanted to set all this out and just take a look at what we have here and what I can do with it, because I have some ideas of where I'd love to put some of these fans in the house. I wanted to see what possibilities I have going forward. This is an interesting piece. This is one of those half and half canopies, but this is sealed in its baggie still, brand new. I'm going to open it up so we can read these instructions and see how they wanted these to be mounted exactly, because I do see this bracket in here and we do have a very short down rod, but how do the two marry together? So inside we have a separate kit here, and this they call the Encon Mobile Home Kit. So again, I'm going to need to open this so we can see exactly what they're doing here with this schematic. Again, we have our short down rod and this brace here, and this is how they expect you to do it. So they expect you to put the ball and whatnot up top here, and then have that brace hold it up into your box. Boy, you better have a heavy duty box for that. That is so interesting. Well, I guess that solves the question as to what those things are for, because that hole's definitely too small for that rod to go through. But if you're doing it this way, I guess that does bring it up enough. I suppose I should do a clip of this before I get too far. But I have the ceiling fan here in the kitchen. And I've always wanted to, of course, put one of the Encons in the kitchen, but the ceiling up here is just so short. It's really hard to do something like that up here. I thought about having a 3-bladed one in the middle. I thought about having one there, but it's all too low. And if I put them up too high, it's just not going to work right, because the blades are going to be too close to the ceiling. So the only thing I can think of is having one here with a light kit, because it's going to be above the table anyway, and it'll be out of the way. So I'm going to take this down and see what kind of box we have up there. It seems to be pretty sturdy, so we'll see what kind of box we have and go from there. After taking down the Hugger fan, of course it has a plastic box like everything else in the house. So we need to have a nice way to mount this so it doesn't fall down. So I took a look at the kit here for the mobile home thing. And you know, we have this little brace thing. This is a modern one, same idea. It would go underneath it, but then the box has to be way down in here. And that's not going to happen unless the box is exposed. And maybe that's how it is in a mobile home. Not entirely sure. I'm not there. So what we need to do instead is I have a wonderful hook here, and this will hook on it. And once it is hooked all the way, it is flush. So I'm going to put this in the beam next to it, and then we'll cover up the electrical box with one of those white fancy covers that, you know, you put on an electrical box when you're remodeling or something, I guess. I don't know, something. And we'll have a little hole in it, and that'll feed the fan here. Now, the other problem is that these don't have any pole chains or anything on it, so we're going to have to run an extra wire up there to handle either the light or the fan. And I think it will handle the light, and the fan will be on its own control, which I'm hoping to put in one of these. This would be pretty cool to have on the wall. So this is going to be a project. No idea how long it'll take, but hopefully we'll get there. So I think it'll be good when we're all done. Okay, so here's our electrical box. Obviously, as I've discussed, it's plastic, and we're going to need to put a hook here on the side for the fan. So the other thing is we're missing a third wire in here to put the light on. So I'm going to need to run a new wire up in the attic over and down to our switch here. So we have that capacity to put a control on the wall and of course run the fan. So I'm gonna get up there, and to do that, of course, I gotta get the ladder here. And we have our wonderful preheat. Let's take a look at our preheat. Awesome. Now we'll go up into the attic. Okay, with some wonderful help from my parents, we got the wire going from the box here. So we have the original black wire there, and then the new white wire is going to be for our fan. And we can always remove this in the future if we move or whatnot. But it is here. So I curved it out like this so it doesn't touch the metal of the box there. And that gives it some, you know, give and whatnot. And then of course it makes its way over to, and our wire comes across over to right here where it goes down into the wall. Finally done up here to our hole here. So this is where the controller is going to go, right in this outline. And then the wire is going to come through this hole in the side. I know, what a professional knockout, but it'll work. And it'll just pull power from our switch here and bring it over to our control. And this is the wire that comes up and finds its new home in our electrical box. Before we continue on with the installation of the Encon in the kitchen, I got some containers here. Let's see what we can get into these. Some things won't fit, obviously, like these big lights, but hopefully these canopies and stuff will fit in the height of this, you know, on their side or something. We'll find out, but I want to clear this off a little bit so we can set up exactly how we want to set up our fan in the kitchen. And then I picked up this cover yesterday. It's metal. I thought it was going to be plastic, but it's metal. No complaints there. And the holes should be the same size as the electrical box. And here's our hook for installing the fan next to it. So we'll talk a bit more about that once we get it up there. But let's get some of these things stored away. Minus the globe, I think we have everything here to get ready and install our brand new Encon. Well, and the blades. Either way, we have the motor and the main components here. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have. We have a pretty much new in-box Encon here. This one is the white, I believe the 1400 millimeter version, which would be about 55 some inches, so 56 as it says here. 4-blade decorator, so it can have a light kit naturally. And we have our little hook adapter, our 2 little pins, and our very short down rod here that we will need for this project. We have our cover to cover up half of the electrical box because we're going to have this covering up another portion of it, and that's how we'll get the wires in, because we will have our hook here that's going to be positioned next to it on the joist. So we have our low ceiling kit here where it's 2 pieces. And we have our light kit, new in box, new old stock. And of course our control. Now there's 2 controls here, and that's because this white one is for a 900 millimeter size, but it's one of the nicest white covers that I have. And this one is pretty cool. This one's brown. It's brand new, other than someone cut the tape a long time ago. But this brown one is the one that we'll be using because it matches the 1400 millimeter size of this fan. So inside here, there is a control. This particular one, I believe, would have came with something like this, but this was repackaged, so it has something a little different in it. But inside, we have our original white down rod that has the hook here on the end, or the little bushing piece. So there's our brand new down rod. For this project, we won't need it. We have our 2 canopies here. These are both metal. We'll use one of them. And then the top one will be this plastic one. So it'll look a little funny, but I think that'll look fine. And then we have our control here. This is called the silencer. There's a couple of these that came in the boxes. So I'm assuming that these would have gotten changed out for these if you have a actual wall box that you want to install it in. Now, of course, this one has 4 speeds. This one has 5, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and on, and then off. And it does go in a complete circle. There's another version of one of these I found where it's a white one, and the on is over here and the one is over here, and you can't go between off and low. You have to start high and then go to it. So maybe it's a starting thing. That one on the back says something different. It says not for sweeps exceeding 1400 millimeters, and it has a blue label. This one, of course, is 900, and this one is 14. And I've seen all different colored labels on the backs of these for all the different versions. I'll have to put those all together in a video sometime. But here's our control. We won't be using it for this project, but there it is. And of course we have our new old stock documentation here. It has everything we need to know to install the fan, including our warranty information. So there's, if you find a problem, contact your dealer. And we have some Encon information here. And of course our certificate here with its carbon copy. And that's all the documentation we have inside. So, last but not least, we have our brand new fan motor in its box. So, let's move this box out of the way for right now. We're definitely keeping that. Let's take a look at our foam packaging here. Isn't that something? So this one says 4-lead wire fan, and it looks like they had a sticker on it at one point and they put another one over it. So I'm not sure what that is about or what is underneath it, but I'm not going to try to destroy it to find out. And of course we have our tape going all the way around. Looks like we have the Crompton Greaves logo here on the top, and on the back it says checked by, hard to read. Probably a number or something for the person running that shift. But there it is. There is our brand new motor. So I suppose we'll open it up here. Let me get something to cut this, and we'll be right back. Okay, I just cut the tape all the way around. Let's see our new old stock motor. Wow, look at that. Okay, so there's the inside. Hold the capacitor and everything in place. Looks like we have some type of instructions or something here that fell out. Look at that, brand new badges on it, of course. Green in this case. That is so cool. I'm guessing everything was color matched, maybe. I mean, this is green as well. That is awesome. Yeah, oh wow. Okay, let's pull it out and see what we get. Okay, now there should be a cover underneath. Yes, there is. Look at that, it's a red cover. Oh, wow, man. That is awesome. You know, we had a cover like that on the brown one at the top of the stairs, and it discolored, so I guess it was red originally. That is so cool. Look at that. Okay, I'm going to set it down here for a second, and we're going to get it all dressed up with its goodies here, and we'll open this up and see what's inside. So this is what fell out of the foam. We have a packing slip here, and some Crompton Greaves instructions on installing the fan. Now the Encon instructions inside said to ignore all of this, but we'll follow it as needed. It has the stepped canopy in this view here. Very cool. Decided to put the camera on its little mount here so we can see how they packaged this. Of course, all this little discoloration, you know, that just comes from it being in that bag so long. But I'm not going to complain. No complaining here. This is amazing. Let's take a closer look at it again. So we have Encon Industries. Serial number TFN, and then its number there. That was on our little piece of paper. And then our Crompton Greaves badge here. And then that looks like it says 1200 millimeter. 12, you think? 1200. Then it says 14, so yeah, but it looks like maybe they stamped a 4. Oh, it is a 4. It's just a really big 4, and I'm looking at it wrong, and there's a little bit of a thing here at the top. Yeah, it's a 4. And what does that say? 7853 UL. Of course, we have our capacitor and all of our connections here. Our wires. Underneath, we have our little cover for the light switch housing, if you want to put that on there, if you don't want to put a thing on the wall, or of course the light kit. So let's get our wires out here. Okay, there's our wires. They're already tinned on the end, ready for us to install. Of course, I'll probably strip them a little bit more, but that's it. Okay, so let's get our little down rod on it. Okay, the hole lines up. So we'll get our little pin in there. And the fun part in doing this is that you have all these wires in the way. So you got to kind of push them to the side and hope your pin makes it all the way through. There we go. And then, well, okay, yep, I was going to put this on. And I'm like, well, yeah, no, we cannot do that. I could be following their instructions, but we're not doing that. Of course, here we are just putting things together. So we have our canopy here, beautiful, brand new white canopy. Let's get that fitted on here. Before I do that, let me bend this out a little bit. It's a little bit deep. So that'll pull through. It just feels a little tight. I think that's just how it fits in here. So I'm just trying to move these wires up a bit because it's just not sitting flush. There, that looks better. Okay, now that we got that on there, we should be able to put on, well, I'm going to do the light kit and all that once it's up there. So we're going to get on our little hook adapter thing here. Sit around. So it lines up the wall here. Where are you going to Nice, good. One more turn. There we go. That lines up. So we'll get a pin in there. Turn it around. Do the same thing. Spin that out there. So it's sticking out far. And there we go. Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, let's turn our attention to the upstairs so we can get this hook up and start wiring things. We've located where the hook's going to go, this hole right here. So now I'm going to pre-drill that, get the hook up there, and then we'll be able to hang the fan temporarily so that we can install our cover here and see exactly what we need to cut out of it to give access of electrical to inside the fan. Pre-drilled a hole and everything, got this up there, and oh, yep, then it just breaks. Boy, the quality of some of these things is just garbage. Thankfully, I have another one in my mess box here, so let's give this a try. There's the start with the motor. Use the Dremel and some snips. We were able to get our little piece out. That should work perfect to get the wires through to the fan. Okay, we got the wires slowly getting there. We tucked away the neutral that we don't need and that extra ground, and we'll bring around the other ground and connect it to the screw on the back here. But we just need to get this wired up and we should all be good. And now to put our cover on. Remember to install the ground. And of course, now we have our cover on. Put a little bit of tape on it just to, well, I rounded the edges. I just wanted to be safe about it, but we have plenty of room there for the wires to come out. Now, I think I'm going to use a magic eraser and try to see what I can do with the ceiling there, and then we'll get our little cover on. So I just started cleaning around where the fan was, and you can tell where I've cleaned and haven't. I knew that the previous owners cooked a lot of greasy stuff, but my goodness. At least this eraser is working wonders. And now we turn our attention to figuring this out. Not sure if I explained, but there's a knockout in the side of the box here, and that's going to be used to feed the control here in the corner. Made this big hole so that the wire could be fished down and found. So we're going to also replace the light switch with a dimmer for the fixture. That should be nice. And we just need to loop that wire out of the knockout into this box here, and then we'll be all good to go. Now we have our new control and our new dimmer for the fan. Now just to put the cover on. Okay, with the control completed, we will turn our attention to putting the light kit on, and then we'll put the top cover on. I was going to do that first, but it gives it play while we move it around. We'll go from there. So up in our cover here, we have our 2 wires for the light kit, and the white wire, I believe, is if you have the pole chain assembly, which we do not have. Now, it was very hard to get this screw out. It doesn't even want to come out, so I just got the other 2 out and then slid the plate off, and that worked. But we have the world's smallest little wire nuts here. Let's see what exactly is underneath here. Little tiny wire. That is interesting, because the other ones I have, one of them's just cut right at the end with nothing on it. So it looks like it did come with something originally. Here's all of our items that were in the brand new kit. We got our plate here for the globe. This one has a different socket in it. This one is totally different than the others I've seen. Sticks out a little ways. I'm sure the bulb will still be fine, but that's different. And then of course we have our screws here. It came with, looks like an extra because we only need 3. So we'll follow the instructions here and get it on. So I guess the reason why this is so big is you have to put the white wires in there, and that's where they're stored. Interesting. I mean, there's not much space in the other versions, but I guess they were in there too. We are getting there. Just some finishing touches. Blades most certainly need a little bit of balancing, but other than that, it looks great. This is low, by the way. It's quite fast for a low, but that's what our control gives us. High is a interesting thing. Boy, you can really tell where I clean the ceiling. Definitely gonna need to do that more here. So that's high. Number 4. Well, high is 5, so this is 4. Interesting noise. Oh, I think it's the globe getting jerked back and forth. And off. We'll leave it on low for right now. And of course we got our light on a dimmer. 100-watt LED, filament LED I should say. It definitely needs some balancing, but we can do that. Beautiful. I really like how it turned out. I really do hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. Leave a like down below and a comment. I do enjoy reading all of your comments. Of course, check out the other videos here on the screen. And until next time, thank you very much for watching.